The last survivor of a plane crash is rescued by a stranger and brought to a mysterious island. But little does he know, this island is the natural laboratory of a mad scientist who creates deadly monsters. Edward Douglas is a young man who was traveling over the Southern Sea when his plane crashed down in the Java Sea. Edward kept wandering in the lifeboat with 2 other men. On the 7th day, Edward's mates start fighting over the last can of food. Edward tries to stop them, but they start beating Edward as well. The 2 men eventually fall in water and get eaten by the sharks. Edward is suffering from hunger and tiredness and suddenly faints. He opens his eyes in a ship where he meets a guy named Montgomery. He's the one who rescued Edward and also gave him first aid. Edward introduces himself as the negotiator of the United Nations who was going to Jakarta. He asks for a radio, but unfortunately, it is not on the ship. However, Montgomery is willing to pay the captain to drop Edward on the Timor Island, where he will definitely find a way to communicate with his team. He gives Edward a healing injection that causes him to fall into a deep sleep. When he opens his eyes, he's already on Dr. Moreau's island, where Montgomery lives. He suggests that Edward should use his radio instead of going further to Timor. Edward agrees, and they get on the jeep. Firstly, they stop by a cage of rabbits, where Montgomery drops the more rabbits he has brought. Most of the people living here are vegetarian, but Montgomery kills one of the rabbits to cook a hearty meal for Edward. He takes Edward to his resort, where he has a radio, but it needs to be fixed. Montgomery assures that he will fix it soon and advises Edward to stay in the resort until then. He looks around and finds a bunch of certificates and medals in Dr. Moreau's name. Suddenly, he notices a beautiful girl dancing in the corridor. Edward can't get his eyes off her and keeps watching her for a while. Suddenly, the girl sees him and gets startled. Then out of nowhere, she starts admiring Edward's hands. Before Edward can talk to her, she runs away, seeing Montgomery. She's Dr. Moreau's daughter, Isa, who likes staying by herself. Montgomery has arranged a room for Edward to rest. Edward asks about the medals, as he thought Dr. Moreau is dead. Montgomery tells him that Dr. Moreau disappeared suddenly so he can peacefully do his animal research on this island. It's been 17 years, so mostly people think he died. When Montgomery leaves, Edward notices that his room's door is locked. All the windows are blocked by iron bars as well. Luckily, Edward has dealt with such situations before. He uses a pin and a mirror to unlock the door. He sneaks out to look around and finds a huge lab. Several different animals are put there in cages, along with numerous fetuses growing in tubes. But what Edward sees next gives him the biggest shock of his life. A group of doctors are helping a female giving birth. It's not a human or an animal. It seems like a combination of both. Even the doctors are also human-animal hybrids. They notice Edward and run after him. As Edward gets out of the lab, he runs into Asa, who offers to help him. They keep running until they reach the seashore. The hybrids are still after him, so Asa decides to find a hiding place. She takes Edward back in the jungle, where they meet a mutated baboon named Asazimon. He can talk like a human and agrees to help Edward after seeing that he has 5 fingers. The mutants call humans as 5-man. Asazimon takes them to his village, and they all travel to the basement to meet their wise man, Sayer of the Law. He has gathered all the mutants and advises them not to lose their human characteristics, otherwise they will become complete animals with no sense of morality. Isa asks the Sayer of the Law to help in hiding Edward, but before they can do that, Montgomery and others reach there to capture Edward. There's also Chubby Man with them, whom is called as the Father by everyone. He orders Montgomery to give a gun to Edward. Edward points it at the Father, but Asa gets in the way. Edward is confused, so the Father asks him to return to the compound where they can talk in detail. The Father can't withstand sunlight anyway. After reaching the compound, the Father removes the white cream from his face and reveals that he is actually Dr. Moreau. He has to keep the cream on because of his allergy from the sun. He also introduces the 3 other hybrids, Wagoy, Azazello, and Maling, whom Dr. Moreau considers as his children. Another tiny hybrid named Majai can't talk, but offers to shake hands. Edward is losing his mind and can't believe what he is seeing with his eyes. He starts to panic and questions repeatedly. Dr. Moreau says that it is not possible to explain the 17 years of research in minutes, so for right now, it's enough for Edward to know that all these hybrids are living under Dr. Moreau's care and protection. They are actually animals that have been fused with human genes, with the help of a scientific study done by Dr. Moreau himself. Edward is still in panic and says that this research is more of a work of the devil. Dr. Moreau advises him to take a break before dinner so he can digest the information he just received. Meanwhile, Moreau and his favorite hybrid Majai play the piano. After an hour, Edward reaches the dinner table, where Maling reads a passage from a weird book about hybrids. After that, Dr. Moreau asks Edward if he still thinks that this research is the work of the devil. When Edward still sticks to his statement, Dr. Moreau explains that in devil work, there's destruction and debasement, but there's no such thing on this island. For the past 17 years, Moreau has been striving to create some measure of refinement in human species. He researched human DNA and concluded that the devil is nothing more than a tiresome collection of genes. Edward is not convinced and says that any of this nonsense can't justify the monstrous experiment being performed on this island. Moreau advises Edward to pay attention and look at Magi and the 2 other hybrids living in the compound. They are totally harmonious, and it is done by genetic engineering. Moreau is just a few steps away from doing the same thing to humans, so there will be no violence left in this world. Suddenly, Azazello brings the rabbit Montgomery asked him to cook. Dr. Moreau orders to take it back immediately. To keep peace among the hybrids, a strict law has been established on the island according to which no one is allowed to kill anyone. Hearing this, Aissa says that she also saw a killed rabbit in the forest, and she suspects that the leopard hybrid, Lo Mai, is behind this deed. Dr. Moreau gets really upset to hear that, and orders to gather all the hybrids tomorrow morning. He needs to remind them of the laws. Edward goes to sleep, but the nightmares don't let him have a second of peace. The next morning, all the hybrids gather in front of the compound, and Sayer of the Law reads the laws in a loud voice. They are not allowed to kill for pleasure or kill for hatred, and not to kill anything, anytime. This is the ultimate law. After the declaration, Dr. Moreau tells everyone that someone has broken a law and killed a rabbit. He must be punished. Then he calls Lo Mai to come forward. Lo Mai gets afraid of the punishment and attacks Dr. Moreau, but Moreau can control them with a remote, which can send a sudden shock of pain through the bodies of all hybrids. Despite Lo Mai's behavior, Dr. Moreau shows kindness and forgives Lo Mai. However, Azazello shoots him to death as he wants to protect the law. Lo Mai's body is burned, and his close friend Hyena cries while holding the remains. Suddenly he notices a small computer chip in the dead body. Hyena rubs his own body and realizes that there's a computer chip under his skin as well. Dr. Moreau uses it to shock hybrids into submission. Hyena takes out his chip and decides to rebel against his caretaker. Later that day, Edward accompanies Montgomery, who is giving injection shots to the hybrids. It's a combination of hormones that helps the hybrids to stay calm. Montgomery used to be a neurosurgeon, but he left his job to accompany Dr. Moreau in making a perfect human race. Montgomery suddenly notices Hyena and calls him to get the shock, but Hyena reveals that he has pulled out the implanted chip. Montgomery runs after him with the tranquilizer gun. Hyena must be caught before he tells all the hybrids about the implant, but unfortunately, he succeeds in escaping. Meanwhile, Edward takes help from Wagoy in fixing the radio communication. Montgomery reaches there with the core part to operate the radio. He is not willing to give it to anyone. He tells Edward to try understanding the situation and give up the idea of running away with Aissa. She may not look like it, but she is a hybrid of cat and also needs injections to suppress her animal characteristics. Edward wants to know why he was even brought here, but Montgomery doesn't answer him. Later that night, Issa goes to meet her father and tells her about her animal characteristics getting stronger. He advises her not to worry, as she is still beautiful. Dr. Moreau is peacefully chatting with his daughter and has no idea what is happening behind his back. Hyena has told a few other hybrids about the implant, and they all have pulled it out. Afterward, they break into the compound and start exploring everything. Dr. Moreau reaches there and treats them really kindly. He also plays a piano tune for them, but the hybrids stare at him in a creepy way. They ask him what they are, and if he's their father, then why give them shocks? Dr. Moreau starts to get scared and gradually moves away and grabs his shock control device. When the hybrids get closer to him, he immediately presses the buttons. However, nothing happens. The hybrids have accepted the fact that they aren't men, and they will not let anyone force them to act like men. They want to make their own laws and walk and eat like animals. Saying this, they attack Dr. Moreau and kill him mercilessly. Edward arrives there and shoots in the air to scare away the hybrids. Aissa gets really sad over her father's death. Moreover, her animal hormones are getting stronger. She needs a special serum to suppress them. Edward agrees to help her and rushes to the laboratory to find the serum. There he meets Montgomery, who has drunk way too much and lost his senses. He has dressed up like Dr. Moreau and repeats his words. He tells Edward that he has destroyed all the serum, so there's no way to stop Aissa from turning into a wild animal. Meanwhile, the hybrids are burning the seaport, so no one can reach the island. Azazello comes to stop them, but Hyena tortures him with the shock device. Then he asks him to become a part of their team. Now they must go to the village and tell all the hybrids that it's their time to rule the island. Montgomery reaches there first and distributes food among the hybrids, while repeating random words Dr. Moreau used to say. Azazello arrives and gets hugged by Montgomery, who tells him that Dr. Moreau wanted to turn animals into humans, but he forgot that the instinct of a species cannot be changed. It will hunt, kill, and rule as its ancestors did it. Azazello agrees and shoots Montgomery to death. Meanwhile, Edward is looking for a medicine to treat Aissa, but he finds his own DNA samples in the laboratory. He meets Aissa and tells her that he always thought Montgomery saved his life. But actually, Montgomery needed Edward's DNA to suppress the hormones of Aissa. He was being used all this time. They must run away before the hybrids reach the compound. Luckily, Wagoy, Maling, and Magi are still loyal to the father and protect Aissa. When the hybrids arrive, they burn down the compound, but Edward and Aissa succeed in escaping. They reach the village basement to look for Sayer of Law, but Azazello catches them. He kills Aissa and carries Edward to their new leader, Lo Mai. Edward tricks Lo Mai and tells him that he can't be the leader till the other strong hybrids are alive. Lo Mai falls for his trick and starts killing his mates. The hybrids realize that Lo Mai is their actual enemy and decide not to obey him anymore. Sayer of Law volunteers to look after the hybrids and teach them how to live peacefully together. The next day, Edward builds a boat to get out of the island. He offers to bring more scientists and doctors who may help the hybrids, but Sayer of Law declines the offer. The hybrids need to accept what they are, and not what Dr. Moreau wanted to make them. A few years have passed away, and Edward has partially forgotten the incident. But whenever he looks at the humans around him, he finds them similar to the wild hybrids. They also kill each other, and they are more unstable and dangerous than all the creatures Dr. Moreau ever created.